On this rivalry weekend, here's who's going to crash the party and sneak into the ACC Championship game.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers. Happy Black Friday, and I hope everybody had an awesome Thanksgiving. I'm still stuffed like a turkey. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube. We're part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. He's got his rivalry game coming up on Saturday, UNC-NC State. It's one of the better rivalries out there. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, and on this loaded episode, we'll talk about the best rivalries involving ACC teams, not only historically, but more importantly, which rivalry games are going to deliver this weekend, because there's a couple that look like they're going to be clunkers this year. Let's be honest about that. We'll talk ACC Championship game and college football playoff scenarios. Is it even possible for the ACC to be a two-bid league this year? Maybe. Slim, but not impossible. But let's talk, Kenton, Week 14 breakdown. But first of all, for the ACC Championship game scenarios, Kenton, where we have to start is there are two teams that control their own destiny.
Right.
If the SMU Mustangs, if they beat the Cal Golden Bears, and SMU is now favored by 12.5 points. That number's gotten bigger throughout the week. SMU can punch their ticket with the win. They need no help. Same thing with UVA. If Virginia beats Virginia Tech in a rivalry that the Hokies have owned this century, I think 19 of the last 20 Virginia Tech has won. But if Virginia wins, they are in. But who do you think can crash that party, Kenton? Who do you think is going to end up, maybe if one of those teams slips up, who's going to sneak into that championship game?
You know, if I were to see SMU or Virginia Tech slip up, the obvious answer, the next in line, is very clearly Pitt. The only problem there is Pitt is playing whom this weekend, or
they're playing Miami. I hope so, because I've been prepping for that one all week.
Absolutely. They're playing Miami. So I don't think that they get in. And so then you look at all of the scenarios and the topsy-turvy, who's in, who's out, what happens, who needs what. I've got to say, I think that it's more likely for Virginia and SMU to lose than for Virginia or SMU to lose and Pitt get the win over Miami, because Miami is doing everything they can. I mean, you saw that ending of that game against Virginia Tech, Donno. You saw it like I saw it. They were scrapping and fighting for their lives to get style points. It was all about, we got to get one more touchdown. We got to show that we dominated. And whole time.
By the way, I'm pretty sure that's the first time Mario Cristobal has ever done that in his entire life. Like, I don't think Cristobal has ever been in a situation before as a head coach at Oregon, Miami, FIU. I don't think Cristobal has ever been in a situation where we're up by 10 and there's less than 2 minutes left in the game. We need to bomb to the corner of the end zone. I don't think he's ever approached a game like that ever before.
Exactly. But Cristobal knows that the committee is lazy. They don't actually watch the games, and they won't actually see, well, wait a minute, what actually happened in the game? Was this a 10-point game for a majority of the game? Was this a 17-point game for a majority of the game? They'll just see the final result and what the score was. So, in my opinion, I think that Georgia Tech is the most likely team up because, again, I don't see a world where we see, Virginia and SMU both lose and Pitt beats, or Virginia or SMU lose and Pitt beats Miami. I'm struggling with my words. That's how unfathomable that situation is to me. Words that are very simple, right? 4 or 5 letter words. Pitt beats Miami. It's such a struggle coming off the tongue. But I will say this. Pitt fans have been heckling me all week, telling me about how wrong I was about their team. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because I said Narduzzi is coaching losing habits into that team, saying they could lose by 100, it wouldn't matter. But I'm not going to be wrong this time. Miami is going to roll. SMU and Virginia are likely to be in the ACC Championship. But even if they're not, Georgia Tech, I believe, is going to be next in line.
Yeah, and okay, so for those watching the video version, you can see, courtesy of PFF College, the scenarios, which are confusing as hell. But there are 6 teams that are still in the race to play in the ACC Championship game: Virginia, SMU, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Duke. So this is an exciting final weekend of regular season football, because any combination of these 6 teams can play in the ACC Championship. Now, when I say this, maybe my Miami bias is showing a little bit, but I believe, like, if we're talking about the most entertaining or best possible ACC championship game matchups, Kenton, I think those would both involve Miami. If they can sneak in, they need to beat Pitt and get a lot of help. But I would say, KG, if we could get either Miami versus SMU, which would be a rematch from SMU getting that overtime win at home against Miami, do it again in Charlotte, I think that game would sell itself. Like, that would be tremendous drama and buildup. Or, and it is possible but unlikely to get this matchup, Miami versus Georgia Tech, because those are the 2 teams that I feel, just if you go power rankings, are the top 2 in the ACC this year. 2 big markets, Miami and Atlanta. I think that would be a really cool matchup. So I think Miami versus SMU or Miami versus Georgia Tech. And of course, you have the storylines of Georgia Tech has beaten Miami in 2 straight, and will Cristobal take a knee this time around? Like, all of that to build up the game. I think those are the best 2 matchups you could get in the ACC Championship game.
I disagree, only because the thing about this is, I think Miami right now is rolling at their highest clip. I think this is the best version of Miami we've seen in quite some time. They're a bowling ball of butcher knives, and Georgia Tech would be limping in. Now, can a Georgia Tech that's limping in beat Virginia? Absolutely. It's possible.
Yeah.
Could a Georgia Tech that's limping in beat SMU? Taller of a task, but it's possible. I don't think a limping in Georgia Tech could beat Miami. I don't think that game would be particularly close, because if you think about it, and you think about it from the fighters don't make fights, styles make fights approach, Virginia, if you can run the ball, they'll be in a tough time.
Yeah.
SMU, same deal. If you can run the ball, they'll be in a tough time. Miami, you ain't gonna run the ball on them. Yeah, that's just.
I know Virginia Tech did. That was like the one team that's run all year. The one team that ran on Miami was Virginia Tech.
Of course, but that was the exception, not the rule, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I believe one time is the exception, 2 times is a pattern, 3 times that's who you are. Yeah, and Miami has not given me 2 to 3 times where I can say, that's it. Them boys, they can't stop the run. So honestly and truly, I believe that what we're gonna get most likely is obviously Virginia, SMU. But if one of those teams is to falter, I would believe it's more likely that both of those teams falter than us getting a situation where we would see, Pitt in, because they'd have to beat Miami.
All right, well, when we come back, let's go through the Week 14 schedule. Some good games, some important games, some rivalry games. You want to keep it locked right here as we head into, I mean, this is such an exciting weekend of college football, but it also reminds us that, like, we're nearing the end, right? I mean, we still have CFP and bowl season stuff, but the 12th regular season game, it's bittersweet, because I can't believe we've already been doing this for 14 weeks this year. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Guys, the holidays are here, and they always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift. And Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season, I like to do that, or you're sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to your door. And this week is the best time to jump in, because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge. Guys, I've given Omaha Steaks as a gift before. The reaction is always the same: excitement when the box arrives, and even bigger smiles when everything hits that grill. Guys, the quality is exactly what you hope for. Incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cookouts even easier. Honestly, it's the kind of gift that brings people together, and you don't need to guess anyone's size. Save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during the cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See their site for details. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Alex Donno alongside Kenton Gibbs. Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, former NC State defensive lineman. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. All right, so Kenton, tonight, Friday night, or actually this afternoon, I should say. I'm getting ahead of myself on this night thing. Number 4 Georgia taking on 23rd ranked Georgia Tech at 3:30 p.m. Now, if Georgia Tech wins this game, KG, they'd be 10-2, and they would have perhaps the best regular season victory in all of college football. I know Alabama also beat Georgia, but Georgia Tech beating Georgia would be right up there. Georgia Tech currently in the CFP ranking is number 23. And I know what the committee would say. Now, the committee kind of picks and chooses. Sometimes wins matter. Sometimes losses matter more. So if Georgia Tech goes 10-2 with a win over UGA, it's a damn good resume, Kenton. But then they could easily say, well, really bad in your loss to NC State, really bad in your loss to Pitt. Your losses aren't good enough. But I think Georgia Tech has a case if they win today.
Here would be the only problem, because if you hold out Georgia Tech with a win over Georgia, then what you are saying is recent losses don't matter. Now you're saying recent losses don't matter, right? Hear me out. This is why this is important. Because Georgia's resume on its face is a lot more impressive, right? You got wins over Tennessee. You got wins over Ole Miss. You got a win over Texas that's somehow still considered a good win, even though Texas ain't beat nobody, even though Tennessee ain't beat nobody, all that type of stuff. But if you are Georgia Tech at that point in time, your best win is more impressive than Georgia's best win. Yep. Your best win is, without a doubt, more impressive than Georgia's best win and more recent. So at that point in time, you cannot argue for Georgia Tech to be out and Miami to not get in that large bid if they don't make it too. Yeah. Something has to give here, because now you're saying winning the games outright don't matter regardless of when it's won. Now you're saying we're going to penalize you so heavily depending on what conference you're in that even if you schedule tough out of conference, we will not reward that. And everybody keeps saying, well, Miami's only in the conversation because they beat Notre Dame, and without that win against Notre Dame, they wouldn't be. Sure, that's a thought. That's an idea. But what is also true is that with a win here, Georgia Tech posits themselves as a 2-loss team with a win in the top 5, which not only a win in the top 5, a late November win against the top 5 team. So you can't make the argument of, well, they're a totally different team down there. They're a different team in 2 weeks. They're a different team. Now, listen, I know, Donno, they say that it takes 20 days to make a new habit, but you ain't got the full 20 days out. You got 14 of them. So, honestly and truly, I think that if Georgia Tech can pull off that upset, that would be a glory, hallelujah. What a great time. You know, I ain't never liked no dogs. I ain't never had a dog as a pet. I ain't never liked them. Rambler Wreck, get the job done and get the ACC a second bid. Come on now.
It'd be nice. I mean, look, obviously, I'm hoping Miami can get that second bid. It's amazing the amount of goalpost movement that's happened with the College Football Playoff Committee. Because a few weeks ago, they were saying that, hey, like if Miami can get into that same comparative pool with Notre Dame, then we're going to be forced to weigh that head to head. Lo and behold, Miami got into the same comparative pool with Notre Dame, and then the committee said, nope. We think Notre Dame is the flat-out team, period. They're the flat-out better team, despite the fact that what happened when they actually played the game on grass and not on paper.
Right? But hypothetically, and the sharps are saying, and you know, the money line is saying, and Donno, you know, hypothetically, the ACC ain't won a game all year out of conference.
Exactly,
And so, you know, what happened on the field, what happened when we actually laced them up and lined it up doesn't matter so much as what we think would happen again. For sure.
Yeah. So Miami, you know, they're 3 spots behind Notre Dame, but most importantly, you know, you also have Alabama and BYU ranked in front of Miami. And Miami at number 12, assuming Miami doesn't win the ACC, because they need a lot of help to get into the championship game. If Miami finishes the season 10-2, you have to wonder, Kenton, like, will they actually have a chance to leapfrog a couple of teams? Because they would probably need to be number 10. Right. I mean, number 12 is not good enough. Number 11, not good enough because of the auto bids. A G5 champion is going to get an auto bid. And the ACC champion, if it's not Miami, is going to get one of those auto bids and take a spot. So I mean, I think the BYU question is interesting, Kenton, because on Saturday, BYU plays UCF, which should be an easy win for BYU. But then they're likely going to play in the Big 12 championship game in a rematch against Texas Tech, who already blew them out this year. So I know, like, the committee has said in the past, don't penalize you for losing a conference championship game. But I think they kind of have to, that if BYU were to get blown out by Texas Tech again, it's hard for me to think they're going to hold on to a number 11 spot if that takes place, or a top 10 spot.
I don't think BYU belongs in that spot regardless, but I think the two blowouts, I mean, because at that point it becomes not only who have you beaten, it becomes the fact that when you have played, quality opponents, what has been the result ultimately? Right? When you've played opponents that have been of note, when you've played opponents who have been in playoff contention at any point in time, when you've played an opponent who doesn't have Jeff Sims starting at quarterback, what happens, right? What happens? ACC legend Jeff Sims, that is.
That's right.
At quarterback, what happens? And all of a sudden, things get a little dicey. So I understand the idea that, we don't want to penalize you for losing a conference championship, which I completely understand. But if a team were to have basically half of a quality win, and then the only quality team they played outside of that half a team, they get blown out by twice.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's not a conference championship, even if it was a really wonky situation like what we had with Washington State and Oregon State a couple years ago, or this year rather, we wouldn't be saying, oh, yeah, it's fine that you got blew out twice by the only decent team you play. Yeah, it's okay. We wouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, and of course, for any of this to matter for Miami, they have to beat Pitt. That's non-negotiable. Hurricanes are 6.5-point favorites for a 12 noon Saturday game in Pittsburgh. It's not going to be an easy game, but I think couple of matchups that make me feel relatively confident Miami's going to get this done, Kenton. Mason Heinschel, when he faces pressure, is 140th nationally in quarterback rating under pressure. He's a completely different quarterback when you get in his face, and that's something Miami does well than I think any other team in the country. They're either first or third in pressure, depending on which metrics you look at. So I think that's a big edge for the Hurricanes. And on that note, despite the fact that they have, Des Reed, who's an all-purpose threat, Pittsburgh hasn't run the ball well outside of the Georgia Tech game, because Georgia Tech has, a bunch of just traffic cones you just kind of run around with their rushing defense. But Pitt is 104th nationally in rushing. So I think for Miami, if you keep Pitt one-dimensional, you should be able to give Heinschel a hard time. Miami's offense has been better lately. So I'm going to go Miami winning this game. I'm going to go 28-17 Miami. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you here. I think Miami gets this job done. And I think that Miami doesn't have to try as hard for style points in this one. I think you're winning a ranked game on the road. I think about 14 points would be good enough. I got 34-20.
Okay. All right. What do you think? Well, let's start with the games that actually have ACC Championship game implications here. What about Duke hosting Wake Forest? I think Wake is going to win this game, Kenton. And I think the fact that Duke is only favored by 1.5 at home against Wake. I think Wake is going to go into Durham and pull it off.
It's not the same. If you've ever been to Wallace Wade Stadium, it's not a real home environment. Yes, I'm shaming you again, Duke fans. Show up for the football team. I understand the Boozer Twins are doing great things, but you got a really good football team rolling over there. Now, with that being said, I tend to agree with you here. I want to say that Wake Forest pulls off the upset. I really do. That's what I want to say. However, one team has Darian Mintz at quarterback. One team has Robbie Ashford. I think that this game is going to be a really close one. I think that this one comes down to a last-second field goal, and Duke special teams has been obscenely good this year. Give me the Duke Blue Devils 34-31 in this one.
I think I'm going to go for another upset in the Commonwealth Cup. And so number 18, Virginia, they're favored by 8.5. They have been the better team, but Virginia Tech, I think they do have a little more juice since James Franklin has been named their next head coach. They ran the ball really well against Miami. I I just have this feeling that Virginia Tech, who's beaten them 19 out of the last 20 meetings, I think Virginia Tech is, because I feel like Virginia has been such a Cinderella all season long.
Yeah.
I think the other shoe is going to drop on Saturday.
Let me tell you something, okay? Virginia Tech has dominated this rivalry. They've dominated with interim coaches in the past. They've beat up on this team even when they were underdogs in the past. They've spoiled it for Virginia going where they want to go in the past. They've done all of that. Unfortunately, the thing about the old days is they the old days. Why? Give me Virginia to win this one. And I think they win convincingly. Give me Virginia 24-10.
I'm going Virginia Tech. I'm going to go 21-20 Hokies. I think they pull out a 1-point stunner on the road. And keep in mind, if Virginia loses, they very likely drop out of the ACC. They could still get in if they lose, but win and they're in. Yeah. All right, number 21 SMU at Cal. I'm not going to pick the upset on this one. I think crazier things have happened than Cal winning this one at home as 12.5-point underdogs. But you talk about peaking at the right time. SMU has been in such good form, since their upset loss against Wake Forest. That was what triggered the winning streak that they're on since beating Miami. SMU's look like a different team. Cal probably, maybe they'll get some juice from having an interim coach after firing Wilcox, but I think SMU's going to go into Cal and win that game. I'm going to say 24-16 SMU gets it done.
It is a crying shame that we sat here after last week saying a ACC coach has been fired, and it's not Mike Norvell.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that while JKS and company can do special things, I think that at this moment, what do they have to play for? What do they have going on? What do you really gain from this game? At the end of the day, this is the end of the season. All the tape is out there. All the tape is out there. You don't got a ton to play for. I get it. It's senior day and all that. But with that being said, I think Rhett Lashler is one of the rising stars of head coaching. And I think that really after this win, he kind of arrives because now you're looking at 4 straight conference championship game appearances. 4. You know what I mean? And 2 of them coming after a jump in competition. I think Rhett Lashlee stamps it, and I think Rhett Lashlee gets himself his first ACC championship, but we'll get to that later. I've got SMU rolling in this one. Give me SMU 42-20.
So those are the games that have ACC championship implications. There's some other good games, though, including a couple of really important rivalries. We'll break them down. You want to keep it locked right here. Kenton Gibbs and Alex Donno. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. We're certainly not done with FanDuel. Folks, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen here on the #1 Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Kenton, a non-conference game. It's been a disappointing season for both of these teams. You got 6-5 Clemson, 4-7 South Carolina. South Carolina pulled off a shocker last year at Clemson. Clemson still ended up, it's a non-conference game. They still ended up sneaking into the conference championship game and getting into the playoff. South Carolina is favored by 3.5 points at home. This is a really tough one to pick. I mean, and South Carolina is the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, you remember when they had that 4-touchdown lead against Texas A&M. So, hey, this team is good enough to be up by 4 touchdowns against the top 3 team in the country. What happens? They give up 31 unanswered points to lose that game, right? Lenora Sellers is super dangerous. Clemson knows that well. Clemson has been just the ultimate up and down team this year. I still feel like maybe Clemson's been in better form lately. I I could see the Tigers pulling off an upset, a mild upset in this one. South Carolina is favored by a couple points. Let me see the exact number here. South Carolina is favored by 3.5 at home. I'm going to say Clemson pulls off a 3-point win and covers that spread.
I agree. I've got Clemson pulling off a 1-point win.
Ooh.
And I think that this one, I think ultimately this game comes down to who is more poised down the stretch. Yeah. I think this is a good old-fashioned mid-off, which a lot of these games are this week. It's a good old-fashioned two teams that are just not much going on this year. You know what I mean? High hopes for both teams. You know, Lenore Seller Heisman hype ended very early. Cade Klubnik Heisman hype ended very early. Playoff hopes for both teams ended very early. Neither team has a ton to play for. However, this is by and large the last time we'll see a lot of those Clemson seniors. Or not even Clemson seniors, but Clemson guys who are going to get drafted.
Yeah.
What does TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Cade Klubnik, what do they have to gain by playing another game after this one?
Nothing.
And mind you, that another game is coming after a month of not playing, or not even a month because they're not going to be in that type of bowl game, a few weeks after playing your last
it's going to be the type of bowl game where you're talking about a lawnmower or mayonnaise being your sponsor in whatever bowl game they end up. It's not going to be a good bowl.
Yeah, the John Deere Tractor Bowl ain't really all that appealing. You know what I mean? That Type 180 turn radius. Shout out to them boys, but it ain't really appealing. So I think that those guys get it done. I think the South Carolina is uber talented and all, but they're too young, too immature, and they implode down the stretch time and time again. And so I think this one will be close, but I think Clemson pulls out a tight one.
So you refer to some of these games as a mid-off. I don't know what's below a mid-off, but whatever that is what Syracuse hosting Boston College 3:00 on Saturday will be. But I will tell you, Boston College's 1-10 record actually looks better lately than Syracuse's 3-8 record. I mean, BC has been in form. They obviously have flaws, specifically on defense, which is why they're 1-10. But they had Georgia Tech on the ropes. They kept it surprisingly close with Notre Dame for the first half and change. Like, Boston College has been knocking on the door for winning some games. Syracuse has gone in the opposite direction, and Fran Brown is sticking with lacrosse kid, Joe Filardi. 4-star lacrosse player, walk-on football quarterback, is starting this week. I've got BC, Kenton, winning this game by 2 touchdowns. I think, and they're actually favored. Boston College is favored at Syracuse by 2.5. I've got BC 28-14. I think this is a coming out party for Boston College to end their season 2-10.
You know, they call this game a black and blue game, or the black and blue bowl is what some people refer to it as. And this year they're saying that because you're just going to drink until everything looks either black or blue, because nobody wants to see this nonsense. But with that being said, I do agree. Syracuse, while they have lost a bunch of games, they at least look like a serious outfit at times. They've had moments where you're like, this is a serious football team. I get it. I'm sorry. Boston College has had moments where it looks like a serious outfit. Syracuse, on the other hand, is playing a lacrosse player at quarterback. And everybody keeps talking about his lacrosse abilities. Quick question, Donno. How many touchdowns has that kid thrown this season?
1, I think.
How many interceptions has he thrown?
Ooh, I don't know, 5?
Yeah. Give me Boston College. I think one of the Bills is finally going to get themselves back in the win column after a very long exodus from it.
Oh, man. How about 7-4 Louisville hosting Kentucky? Louisville is 2.5-point favorites. You know, is Miller Moss back this week? I'm going to go with Louisville to win this game against a bad Kentucky team, but I don't feel great about either side.
You know, we talked a lot about, who's firing their coach and who's keeping who and all that type of stuff. One thing that I want to say here, how does Kentucky keep their head coach here? How do they do it? How do you sit here and say, hey, Mark Stoops is still your guy after all this time? You know, like, I get it. He's the winningest coach in program history and all that good stuff. It's kind of one of those things where it's just like, you're there long enough. Yeah. I think This is Coach Stoops' last game as coach, and I think
Yeah.
that Brom puts him out of his misery because if we know
Yeah.
anything about Coach Brom, he hates Kentucky.
Yeah.
The results might not always show it, but that is a Louisville man through and through, and he hates him some Kentucky. So I think that he puts Stoops out of his misery here. Give me Louisville to win a close one.
Yeah, and Miller Moss is questionable. Could be a game-time decision, but I don't know. I could see them edging. If he plays, I think they win comfortably. If he doesn't, they could still edge it out. You talk about a mid-off. 5-6 Florida State at 3-8 Florida. I think Florida maybe has slightly more talent, but Florida State is in better form. You know, Mike Norvell is still the coach at Florida State, but Florida has their different Billy Gonzalez as the interim coach. I think most Florida fans have moved on to the whole Lane Kiffin rumor mill. Don't really care about their football team right now at this point. I do think Florida State is going to win this one with bowl eligibility on the line, Kenton. If Florida State wins, they're 6-6. I'm going to go Florida State 24, Florida 17.
You know, as much as I believe that Florida has been snake bitten, downtrodden, I mean, a punt that rolls off of one of your players' helmet and rolls all the way back to the line of scrimmage for the punter to recover.
Yeah.
And then a muffed punt immediately following that when your defense forces another punt. It's just a bad news bears type of situation. But with that in mind, I think that fortunes turn around for Florida State here. I think they get themselves a win against a Florida team that, with all due respect, I think they'll mail it in. I think they'll say, hey, what do we really have to play for here? What do we really have going on? Most of us are going to be in the portal anyway. You know, Kiffin's bringing all his boys down from Ole Miss. I'm joking. I don't know where.
Maybe you're not, though. We don't know. We don't know if you're joking or not.
We don't know. We don't know. But I do think that they have nothing to play for. And at this time of the season, a lot of people don't realize that is a very big determining factor, as opposed to early in the season when it's just about who's the better team. So I think this Florida team, they mail it in. Hey, it's been real. It's been fun. Go ahead. You know, but Florida State got to put them out their misery early because if they let Florida hang around, that's where it gets dicey. So I got Florida winning this one by 15. Give me Florida State putting up a lot of points in this one, 42-27.
All right, so two more games. I'll save your favorite for last. So first, let's go over I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of analysis on this one. Number 9 Notre Dame is at Stanford. You know, I guess games at 10:30 p.m. Well, actually, that would be 9:30 p.m. Notre Dame time. I don't think that's going to matter. Notre Dame is favored by 32.5 here, KG. I think the only question is, do they cover? Like, winning the game is not really in question. Do they win by more than 33 points is the only question. And I'm going to say Stanford covers and they only lose by 28, but I think Notre Dame's going to roll.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Stanford covers, though. I think Notre Dame knows that they've got to play the style points game. The only way to get style points on Stanford is to win by 40 or so.
Yeah,
that's the only way to do it, and I think they go out there and get it done. So I think Notre Dame not only wins, but they cover because Freeman has shown he is not the type of coach that is unaware of these things and that will not play into it.
Yeah, he's been playing like that all year.
Exactly.
All right. How about this one? Bill Belichick takes his team into Raleigh to take on NC State. NC State at 6-5, North Carolina at 4-7. So no matter what happens, UNC cannot be bowl eligible, but it is a rivalry game. KG, is Dave Doran going to get it done, or is Bill Belichick going to pull one off?
You know, Bill Belichick and his team have looked better throughout the season. They've gotten to a point where not only are we seeing a respectable team, we're seeing a real team at multiple points during the season. And Gio Lopez is actually starting to click a little bit. That offense is starting to click a little bit. Unfortunately, one team has CJ Bailey and one team does not. And here's the thing about CJ Bailey. If you can get him rolling early, he's going to get hot as fish grease. The first quarter of this game will tell you who will win. But when you talk about coaches that hate their rival, Dave Doran has not worn a light blue shirt in 13 years because of this here rivalry. You understand?
Yes, sir.
He's won 4 in a row, make it 5 in a row. He put one old past his prime Bill out of his misery. He's going to put a second old his prime William out of his misery. Goodbye, Mr. William Belichick. Go on to the press box or the booth or something like that, because football coaching ain't for you no more. Give me the Wolfpack by a touchdown in this one. Give me 31, or actually, no. Give me 35-28.
I'm actually going bigger. I'm going 31-13 Wolfpack. I think this is going to be an inspired performance. I'm going blowout. All right, so out of all these rivalry games, I'll give you my take, but which one is going to be the most entertaining this weekend? Means competitive, crazy stuff happening. I'm actually going Commonwealth Cup, Kenton. Yeah. I already predicted a 1-point victory for Virginia Tech. I think that game's going to be the most entertaining. I would love to say Georgia versus Georgia Tech. I mean, that game went to 8 overtimes just last year. I see too much of an Achilles heel for the Yellow Jackets to keep that game close. Georgia averages 191 rushing yards per game. That means they'll probably rush for 400 against Georgia Tech with the way that, and I'm not joking, like they may rush for 350 plus against Georgia. I don't think that game's going to be close this year, but I do think Virginia Tech, I think that's going to be the most entertaining out of all the rivalry games.
Absolutely. I'm part of what is normally a good old-fashioned mid-off in college football in NC State and UNC. I can be honest about where we are as a program and announce for the most part we are a middling program that, anywhere between 5 and 8 wins is generally where you can expect NC State to be, and same for the University of North Carolina. So I understand that mid-offs can be uninspired and unentertaining, but for some reason, I got my eyes on this Florida and Florida State game.
Okay.
I got a feeling that game is just going to be primetime TV for some reason. I got a feeling Thomas Castellanos, in and of himself, he's a guy that when you watch him, whether he's good or whether he's bad, it's going to be entertaining. He's going to be entertainingly bad or entertainingly good. But you're going to want to watch TV when he's on. But even beyond that, I think, Deuce Robinson, one of the best in the game. He's super entertaining as well. And Florida is the more talented team in this football game. I mean, I don't think that there's too much disagreement there, but they don't have much to play for. So I know rivalries get a little bit chippy and all that good stuff. And I'll never get tired of watching NC State beat up on UNC. You know what I mean? The homer in me would say that's my favorite because it's been a long time coming since they got them one up off of NC State. There's an entire graduating class that has never seen UNC beat NC State, but I think Florida State will be the most entertaining this year.
Just to get a little off topic here, this could end up being one of the most fun weekends for Florida fans if they're able to win that game and land Lane Kiffin. And it's a weird thing with Kiffin because Kenton, most of the college football insiders who are impartial, that don't have a horse in the race, most everybody is saying Kiffin to LSU. Right. But so Florida insiders, because the only people who are you know what, I think he's going to Florida are the Florida insiders. So they're either going to be exposed as a bunch of frauds, or we're going to find out they know something that the impartial insiders don't know. Because the people who cover Florida are super confident. People who cover anyone else are super confident in LSU. So this is a do or die weekend for Florida. Because if they don't get Lane, a lot of lies from their insiders were told, but I will give them full credit if Lane Kiffin becomes a Gator.
Let me tell you something. You think you've seen some message board meltdowns in the past?
Oh, my God.
This Lane Kiffin drama is a guarantee because Ole Miss is they're past the anger stage. They're past the anger stage of meltdown. They've already had their meltdown.
Yeah, they're 3 phases ahead of everybody else.
Exactly. They're already accepting he's leaving Oxford and, this is just who we are. They're already accepted that. But LSU and Florida fans, both of those, one of those, message boards is going to have a meltdown unlike anything we've ever seen. I mean, they're going to call everybody and their mama everything but a child of God because insiders from both sides now, this is a fact. If you go on Twitter and look up Lane Kiffin's name, this is a fact. Insiders from both sides have said Lane to our school is a done deal.
Yeah, that's right. You're right about that. Yeah.
The only people that haven't said this is a done deal is Ole Miss fans. Ole Miss knows, like, oh, we're not keeping him. I have not seen any Ole Miss insider say, oh, he's 1,000% staying here. But Florida and LSU, they're both convinced. Everybody's 100% convinced. And now, wait a minute. Are y'all going to share custody of him like he's a kid during a divorce?
He'll coach whoever's at home. He'll coach like the home team. He'll split his duties.
Okay, I was just about to say, does somebody get him on the weekends, or what is it? What is it? Do you do Monday through Wednesday? I don't know, but this is going to be one of those things where somebody's going to have their heart broken in a million pieces here.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all the everydayers for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Make sure you check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone do an excellent job breaking down all things NC State on Locked On Wolfpack. I talk all things Miami on Locked On Canes. We'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.